The KC Sports Network live postgame show is about to begin. KC Sports Network is the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. Millions of views, millions of podcast downloads, and the highest ranked Chiefs podcast network of 2022. KCSN is where you want to be for news, commentary, and analysis, with a collective perspective on the Kansas City Chiefs that can't be found anywhere else. With more than 15 hosts, analysts, and former players you've watched play, putting out nearly 20 shows per week, KCSN is a network for today's fan. Now, it's time for the KCSN live postgame show. Here's BJ Kissel.
Look at this.
I've never seen that before in my life. A little carousel kick it to Patrick.
It was a good time as the Chiefs 31-13 win over the Las Vegas Raiders and secured the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. This is the KCSN live postgame show coming to you live from Holladay Distillery and their event center here in Weston, Missouri. I'm BJ Kissel, joined by Kent Swanson and Craig Stout.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good time. We've got our drinks here, the Bourbon Smash, the new Ben Holladay Bourbon. Appreciate everybody for hanging out and spending some time with us here on this postgame show. Again, pretty stress-free game, which is exactly what we want to see as Chiefs fans. Kent, what stood out to you so far tonight?
The stress-freeness of it, honestly. It was so nice to see a relatively clean football game. I mean, I think I think we spent a lot of time looking at hey, what are the things that are going to keep this team from achieving, the ultimate goal? I think there's not really very many things that you're going to point to in this game to say, all right, this is something that, came to light again in this game. This football team played a very clean football game, both sides of the football, clean operation in the kicking game, some very high level moments on special teams. It felt like the Chiefs treated this like a playoff game. Like they knew what was in front of them. They knew the opportunity in front of them. And I think the entirety of this football team played a really strong, clean football game.
Absolutely. I mean, when you got a game that you go through, the defense creates a couple turnovers, you get points off the turnovers. I mean, the offense moves the ball at a good clip. It doesn't matter who you're playing. It looked good. Like all of it looked really good. I think the only complaint that we can make, Patrick Mahomes maybe missed a couple guys on a couple of throws. Like it could have been an even better day. Like that's the complaint in a game like this where you just win as handily as you do. Raiders get their only touchdown in super garbage time. I mean, it wasn't even close when the Raiders brought
Oakland
this
time.
In. Yeah. Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's brutal. But I mean, yeah, no, it was a really good game all around for everybody.
All right, we're going to break this thing down. We're going to have Maddie Lane join us in here in just a little bit. Again, Chiefs 31-13 over the Raiders. Exactly the kind of performance the Chiefs fans were hoping for going into the playoffs, which now they will get that first round bye. And so they won't play till the divisional round. We'll see how it all plays out with the games taking place on Sunday to see who the Chiefs' opponent is going to be. But Kent, let's start with you. Just individual performances that stood out to you tonight.
I think Patrick Mahomes played a pretty clean game. I mean, I know this is kind of the low-hanging fruit, but let's just be honest. I think he played a very clean, efficient football game. There's a couple of misses here and there, like you said, down the field. But outside of that, I think he did a good job, took care of the football, executed some big plays, used his legs a couple times there. I think it was just a really clean performance for him as he just cements himself as, first off, the leader in quarterback yards in the season. He was able to secure that today. And as the MVP of the 2022 season.
Yeah, Chris Jones. It's slam dunk on defense. Had an outstanding game. I mean, was ultra motivated to close out the season really well. Gets to 15 sacks, ties his season high for his career. I mean, we've been talking all all year about Chris Jones as a potential defensive player of the year candidate. He closes really strong. He really does. I think this is unequivocally his best season as a professional.
Yes.
Like, he played the run ultra well under Joe Cullen. He obviously rushed the passer well. We know that to be the case. Just his game all around. He is DT1 in the NFL this year. And in a season that has Aaron Donald in it, that is very hard to do. Chris Jones absolutely stated his case for that. I think it's a slam dunk. He should be first team All-Pro for that.
Well, and you talk about, the contract, to quote the wonderful Therese Paylor, the contract year is undefeated. And you've seen, this was a big year for him in defining the relationship with the Kansas City Chiefs moving forward. Are they going to extend him? Are they going to pay him the bag? Are they going to trade him? There's a big questions about, his status with this football team. And he has made this decision even harder for this football team. I mean, it was already difficult.
Yeah.
But what he has done this year is made that even more of a quandary for this team to navigate now. And I mean, Chris Jones had an absolutely unbelievable. I believe it. I think this is the best year of Chris Jones's career. Knocking on the door of 30 and still just has an outstanding season here. And the Chiefs needed it. And it kind of felt like Chris Jones was one of those guys treating it like a playoff game today. And he did.
I'm going to say it. Chris Jones should be on this team next year.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He had 2.5 sacks. He's trending upward at the time of the Chiefs are going into the playoffs. It's exactly what you want to see from a guy that we know is in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. Micah Parsons is going to probably run away with that award. When
Miles
we see the
Garrett has it come. Yeah,
I think Nick Bosa is actually the betting favorite right now.
But that's
if you check your DraftKings.
But him being up
edge
there.
rushers.
Yeah,
like it's edge rushers for Chris Jones to be in that conversation as a player, for him to step up the way that he did today. With the last game, that we all want to feel good about this team going into the playoffs. That was kind of the thing, is like, stay healthy. Hopefully Frank Clark will get some information here, and Tucker will let us know as far as Frank Clark and what Coach Reed says after the game, as he's dealing with a groin injury that he was declared questionable during the game and then was ruled out. Hopefully that's not serious, something that he can overcome. He's got an extra week now to get ready for that game. But when you look at, both sides of the ball, let's start with the offensive side. Dig into this a little bit. We'll go offense, defense, then we'll bring Maddie on to get his thoughts on this. But offensively, outside of Patrick Mahomes, that we talked about the first half, had like 170 yards passing, finished with 202, didn't do a lot in the second half as they kind of had this game in control, as Patrick Mahomes has broken the record set by Drew Brees back in 2011, that he has the most passings plus rushing yards for a quarterback in NFL history. Not bad for a quarterback that a lot of people said was going to take a step back because he lost the most explosive player in NFL history, and not to take anything away from Tyreek Hill and what he brings to the table. But Patrick Mahomes, he brings something to the table as well.
The regression has just been so grand.
I'll tell you what, Kent, I hope he regresses like this every year.
Seriously, what he's done this year is remarkable. And I mean, it wasn't like the most gaudy statistics today. Like, he wasn't lighting the world on fire statistically, but this team kind of managed this game in the second half, which I'm really glad they did. But you saw him establish what he's able to do the first play of the game with or the second play of the game with the vertical stretch to Justin Watson, a beautiful throw. And he gets a little creative in the red zone here. You can kind of see this play down here where, hey, we're going to hold on as long as we can and just kind of flip the ball to Jerick McKinnon. You saw the reasons why Patrick Mahomes has earned the opportunity to be the league's MVP and win a lot of Chiefs fans money on DraftKings. But
nice plug there.
I know. Yeah.
Nicely done.
I do what I can, but it's just, he's put together an absolutely great performance, and this was a clean one today. This wasn't the most gaudy statistics across the board for the entirety of this team, but everyone took care of business. And you could tell the workman-like nature that this football team showed today. I mean, it's funny to say that because they literally got into a formation where, the huddle was a literal carousel, the carousel, as I am calling it. But yeah, did you not hear that earlier? Okay,
no,
thank you.
Not. That's beautiful.
I do what I can.
Don't inflate his head anymore.
Those are good.
Craig laughed at
one of my credit where it's due.
Craig laughed at one of my puns today or this week. I'm having a good week, but no, I just think, man, I was just so impressed by how this team treated it, and it kind of gives you confidence heading into the playoffs that there's more to this football team than they've maybe shown the entirety of the regular season. They're ready to put a full football game together, and I think you're going to see that in 2 weeks. Because they just secured the bye.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was good to see, Juju Smith-Schuster doesn't have a big day, but hits all of his contract incentives.
That's
this
great.
year. I mean, like
Earned it.
If you would have told me there at the beginning of the season that Juju Smith-Schuster was going to hit every single one of those, was going to make all of that money, we would have all taken it. We would have said, "Oh, that's an outstanding year," and it was. It really was a good year. Juju Smith-Schuster also should be back. He and Chris Jones can come right back here.
I'm looking at the box score. It is amazing that we're talking about the Chiefs and feeling really good about their performance. Only one receiver on this team had more than 38 yards receiving.
Oh, yeah.
In this game. And that was Justin Watson from the one catch that he had.
Catch.
That was 67
he had
yards.
one catch.
The second leading receiver for the Chiefs, Travis Kelce, with 6 catches for only 38 yards.
Yeah.
And so for a stress-free game and looking at the end, if you would have said before the game started that only one receiver was going to have more than 38 yards, it would have felt like it wasn't a stress-free game, but that ended up not being the case.
No, it helps that Isaiah Pacheco, Jet McKinnon, Ronald Jones has a good day too. I mean, like all three of those guys, all three of those running backs look really good. Isaiah Pacheco, running games, heating up. They taking vertical shots downfield. Like this is all the stuff that we want going into the playoffs. It puts so much on defensive coordinators' plate. So, hey, good.
They showed a few things. I mean, like, now teams are going to have to prepare for the Chiefs literally lining up into a dance cycle. Like the teams are going to have to can you imagine the scout team next week preparing for the Chiefs lining up in a dance routine? Like bye starts playing and they just, but like, I just like, I don't know, like they've shown enough. They've shown like, and I think we talked about this last couple of weeks, like they've been able to show, hey, no area of the field is safe with this football team. Yeah. They've established shots outside the numbers. They've, shown some ability to stretch the field a little bit there. They've run the ball effectively. They ran the ball a little bit better. I mean, I think that Isaiah Pacheco explosive run late in the game kind of helped, those numbers a little bit. But they've got all these elements and stuff that they're going to be able to pull from when the time matters. And they've flexed enough in all these areas where I feel pretty confident about this team when it comes crunch time in 2 weeks.
All right, let's get to some high level stuff on the defensive side, and then we'll bring Maddie Lane on here in a second. But I think the most important thing for the Chiefs, as far as what we've seen over the last few weeks where they've struggled, they've still been able to win the game. They did not turn the ball over, had only 43 yards on penalties. They were good on third down, and they took care of business. They got pressure. They had 6 sacks in this game. They did exactly what you'd expect a team that's significantly better than their opponent to do, which is what you want to see with this team going in. Again, going to have the week off, securing the number 1 seed with this victory. Let's go through defensive high-level thoughts on what we've seen, and then we'll bring Maddie Lane on right after this. Kent, let's start with you.
Jalen Watson. I think he put together, we talked about it at the halftime kind of, show that we did, putting together a good first half. I think he finished it with another good half of football. It's kind of interesting how the Chiefs are, having to navigate the cornerback 3, kind of situation here, because they are going to be leaning on a day 3. It's crazy. If you say it out loud, the Chiefs are going to be relying on a day 3 rookie cornerback to kind of handle a big workload here in the playoffs. It's either going to be Joshua Williams or going to be Jalen Watson. It's very obviously been trending Jalen Watson the last 4 or 5 weeks. And he showed why today again. I don't know if I'm stealing Craig's thunder. I don't know if that's where you were going, but he did an outstanding job today. And I think that's encouraging to see. Like the Chiefs have been able to find value at the cornerback position in a very, very big way this year. Jalen Watson is one of those guys that you gotta be excited about, because he was the round 7 pick in this cornerback group. He's the last cornerback taken of the 3, and he's just playing outstanding. And maybe Najee Johnson, but
mine for the first 12 weeks of the NFL season, we watched this safety room play. Let's be honest, terrible. They were not good.
It's unarguable.
Juan Thornhill wasn't good. Justin Reed was not particularly good. We were seeing Justin Reed talking before that Cincinnati Bengals game and then put on, frankly, a terrible performance. We saw a lot out of the safety room that we didn't like. Over the past 3 weeks, this safety room has gotten better and better and better. And today was kind of the pinnacle of how they played. Yeah, I know it's Jarrett Stidham. Yeah, I know that the guys that are out there, there's still Darren Waller. There's still Devontae Adams out there. Juan Thornhill and Justin Reed both played their best games of the year today. Yeah. I really, truly believe that. Yeah. I mean, Juan obviously has the pick to back it up. Yeah. Justin Reed has the sack to back it up. That play that Justin Reed made against Darren Waller in the back of the end zone was phenomenal. Just a phenomenal play.
But that wasn't even the only play for Justin Reed, because there's the play on the sideline where Darren Waller tried to make. And I think the thing that's so encouraging about what we've seen out of Justin Reed recently is that it's not a flash in the pan thing. Like there's a trend here of him playing a lot better football, basically since he opened his mouth, before the Bengals game. Outside of that one Bengals game, I think he's been trending in the right direction since. I don't know if that's something that refocused him or what, or if he's just getting comfortable and confident in what he's doing here in the Chiefs offense. Or defense. And honestly, they're kind of using him a little bit more differently than he has, in the first 10 games too, a little bit more closer to the line of scrimmage. They're blitzing him a little bit. They were willing to line him up there. They're playing Y ISO.
They're playing press man against Darren Waller with Justin Reed.
And they're Y ISO, and Justin Reed's out there just comfortably, hanging. But so I don't know. There's just there's some trends there in the back end of that defense that you really like to see. And it seems like this group has taken things personally, where they were honest with themselves about the reality of what they were putting on tape, and they responded in a big way. And there's no reason to complain. That's what you want to see heading into the most important games of the season.
It's a beautiful thing to see. Again, the Chiefs win 31-13 over the Las Vegas Raiders, looking good on both sides of the football. And right now we're going to bring on the third member of the KC Laboratory, which will be going live Monday night to break things down Monday. Bringing on Maddie Lane to talk a little Chiefs and Raiders. Maddie, how you doing?
Oh, what's going on, guys? I'm doing pretty good. Sad not to be there hanging out with you guys, but that was a pretty fun game to watch.
Maddie, you really are sad that you're hanging out. Trust me, we're having a phenomenal time. I'm not trying to make you feel any more jealous than you are.
I am sure that you are having a great time, Kent. I would have never once doubted that you were having a blast without me, Kent. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know, though, that I really was missing out. I needed that. The Chiefs just stomped the Raiders, win the 1 seed. I'm feeling great. It's draft season for the next 2 weeks. Kent just needs to bring me down a peg or two. I get it.
Yeah, for anybody who's not listening, we are going to the East-West Shrine Bowl in Las Vegas in a few weeks. So that's why I joked on social media that if they're talking about a neutral site, if it's the Chiefs and Bills, if you want to put that game in Las Vegas, we will already be there. So it'll be a phenomenal thing for us, doing some shows out there at the Blue Wire live studio at the Wynn Casino. So it should be a good time. Maddie, we've just been breaking down kind of high level on both offense and defense. What stood out to you on the Chiefs' performance tonight as they win 31-13 over the Raiders?
Boy, they played pretty good. They played pretty good football, I think, is what really stood out. Yeah, that's what you get. I think the big thing, it looks like Andy Reid was unloading the bag of the play call sheet here in this one. He was pulling out all the stuff, and yes, that happened, but I think it's more, we've been talking about it the last couple weeks. The Chiefs are trying to prepare situations, plays for certain situations as much as possible. So they want to practice them in a live game. You're not going to see the Chiefs come out and run 4 trick plays in one playoff game, but putting them on the film, on tape, makes an opponent, try to prepare for them. And then if you do want to dial up one of them or something similar, you have that live game rep. So I think you saw a lot of those things over the past couple of weeks, whether it's the trick plays, all the vertical shots we've seen the last couple of weeks. It's been a stark uptick for the Chiefs. The heavy personnel, they're doing things to prepare themselves for the 3 times they're going to use them over the next month of football. But, they all worked pretty well. So I think Andy's feeling pretty good right now.
I've never been more confident that Andy Reid watches and listens to KC Sports Network than all week. I was like, you know what? I've said that they're going to blow teams out over the last 5 weeks, and they didn't do it. I was like, you know what? This is going to be a close game. Don't expect the Chiefs to come out and just play with their hair on fire. They're not going to be really creative. They're going to save a lot of that stuff, and they come out and do the ring around the rosy type of, huddle,
carousel,
whatever you want to call it.
The carousel.
The carousel.
If you have to keep pushing for it, it doesn't work.
Thank you, Maddie.
All there's to it.
See, this is why Maddie needs to be here.
It doesn't work.
Daryl the barrel.
Good.
At this point, I don't care, because I said going into this that my Christmas wish for the Chiefs was that Kadarius Toney would stay healthy because of the athletic, the skill set that he has and what he brings to this offense and what Andy Reid can do creatively in being able to use him. Man. I'm still, to this day, we joke about it, but I'm still surprised that they use some of those types of plays that you would see in the playoffs, but you can't convince me that there's not counters to what was just shown. We're playing 4D chess is what we're watching with Andy Reid. So you can't tell me that the creative stuff we saw tonight doesn't have some sort of counter where every team is going to have to study what they saw tonight. And or the biggest problem I have with this game, I'm sorry, I'm going off here. Colin Saunders, that poor dude.
Don't get me started.
Mahomes threw to the back line.
Twice he has been in the situation to be in a position to, the play is run for him. He's going to score a touchdown. He is open and Patrick Mahomes misses him. I hope Nate Taylor, friend of the program, asked Patrick Mahomes about how upset are you that you missed that wide open receiver, number 9. He's hard to miss.
Hey, look, Colin came open late, and so like Mahomes
Don't
tried to
blame
battle
it on
it.
being late.
No, I'm
Don't you
not,
dare
I'm not
blame this on
No,
being
I'm
late.
saying Mahomes still missed it, but like he decided that he was burning that play too quickly.
He burned
gave
a
up on it too quickly.
lifetime memory opportunity for
Yes.
all of us to be like, remember that time Collins Sauter got a touchdown?
You know what?
We all
up as
had
the
that
H.
opportunity.
You know what? I'm going to say this. Patrick Mahomes should be stripped of the MVP for missing Colin Saunders on the play.
Well, don't tell that to
Good night.
BJ's DraftKings account. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're watching. Thank you, everybody. If you hit the like button, if you hit the subscribe button, it helps us grow this channel, helps more Chiefs fans find it during the most important month of the season. January is upon us. The Chiefs will be playing in the playoffs. They don't have as many games to play in the playoffs, which is the absolute delight for all of us sitting here right now.
3-game season.
3-game season. That's all it is to a Super Bowl. Maddie, okay, so I like we sitting here, we're talking. It's just like it feels like this team had a different level of focus to how they operated today. Maybe it wasn't always, I still like. I know they threw a lot out there. I don't think it's the A+ call sheet. I think they threw enough out there to force teams to prepare. Maybe there's some counters, like you said, BJ off of it. But it just feels like this team went out there. Whatever was called, they executed. Both sides of the football is a very clean performance because I think this team had a good understanding of what was in front of them. Do you share the same sentiment?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the first half to start the game, I don't know if it was A+, but they put out like an A- to A play sheet and stuff. I think they were out there trying to give themselves a big lead, put themselves out ahead of the Raiders and see what happens. They have motivation, right? They win, they get the 1 seeds. Like I think they were coming out and with a purpose. I think the first half offense was phenomenal. I know some people are going to be upset, especially after the broadcast showed that, Juju Smith-Schuster came open on the pick route. It's like a half read play. That ball's going to Travis Kelce 9 out of 10 times because that's what the play's designed to do.
Yeah.
So outside that play, the offense in the first half was nearly flawless, right? I think they scored on every other possession they had, 3 touchdowns. So I don't know. I thought the offense was great from the get-go. I think they came out with a purpose, and then they were using the vertical passing game, the heavy personnel. They were doing the things they need to do that are going to make them successful in the playoffs. Like these last 2 weeks, offensively, we'll get to the defense next, but offensively, I couldn't be more excited as a Chiefs fan in terms of what they're showing going into the playoffs.
All right, let's go to Tucker Franklin real quick. We've got an update on Frank Clark on the injury situation.
Yeah, not a whole lot from Andy Reid at the podium. Kind of coy, shocker.
Wow.
But he said that Frank is dealing with a groin strain, and they just kind of held him out of the game just because of groin strain. But tough to deal with that injury moving forward for the playoffs. But he'll have a couple weeks to get.
Hopefully, it's not anything serious as we talk about Frank Clark dealing. Who was listed as questionable in the middle of the game when the injury first happened, and then was declared out after that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's because the game was out of hand. Hopefully it's not too serious because it's the last thing that you want to see as the team gets ready for the playoffs. And Frank and what he's done, again, 5th all-time in NFL history in postseason sacks, and I'm not going to let that one not be mentioned.
Oh, listen, he's 3 away from second, I believe.
Yeah. And if you listen to some of his
bad.
comments too, there's I think there's a playoff Frank that he doesn't even like it. Maybe he is acknowledging it, but there's playoff Frank, there's regular season Frank, and there's playoff Frank. There's a different version of Frank Clark ready to roll in the playoffs, the way he's kind of talked. And
but when your body feels like that and you have to play for only a month versus 18 weeks or 23 weeks, that's a big difference.
For sure. Okay, so Maddie, let's look at the offensive side of the football here with you. I think we've talked a little bit here, or the defensive side of the football. Sorry, let's look at the defensive side of the ball.
Look at this man trying to go to offense.
What is defense?
Let me pause this thing real quick and talk to we break down the game. We can talk about all this. I know I just did it. But things that really matter, we've talked about this all week. We talked about this during the halftime show, but let's bring up Tucker. Let's bring up the tweet and talk about things that matter. Damar Hamlin, obviously Buffalo Bills defensive back that we've been talking about all week, putting this tweet out earlier today and just putting at ease anyone who watches football that has any empathy or compassion in the world to the guys that step between the lines and do what they do to entertain all of us every weekend. Putting out this tweet, putting love into the world comes back 3 times as much. Thankful for everyone who has reached out and prayed. This will make me stronger on the road to recovery. Keep praying for me. Again, coming from Damar Hamlin out on Twitter. Guys, there may not be a more beautiful example on it. I hate the fact that these things always seem to happen when bad things happen, but we get to see the beautiful side of social media. And 8 million being raised for the GoFundMe for something that Damar Hamlin had created when he was in college, long before he ever made $1 as a 6th-round pick. So let's not pretend relative to the rest of the league that this is a guy that's made a ton of money, created this foundation to help toys for Christmas for kids when he was in college before he ever made $1. And to see that GoFundMe blow up the way that it has, over $8 million, I can't wait to read the stories about how Damar Hamlin has learned about the way in which the football watching world has rallied behind not only Buffalo Bills, but this entire situation and what he is going through. Prayers to him that he continues to receive good news. But that tweet right there is just a beautiful thing to see.
Absolutely.
It's just, man, and you see the way, like, I think the cool thing is you see the way that the NFL community and by extension of the NFL community, every single fan that loves the game of football has responded. And, the beautiful, coordination between the rest of the league in their response to how they're taking care of this kind of just speaks to the humanity of this league. And, a lot of people talk about like the rivalries and stuff and like the bitterness that a lot of, maybe, past players held. But I love the version of the NFL that has a lot of respect for each other and a lot of love and appreciation for it. You see the summits that are happening with different positions and stuff like that too. I love the community that is built for these NFL players because they deserve it. They're putting their lives out on the line, and I just really respect how they've all rallied around this guy. And I think it speaks to, where the league is at in a lot of different ways too.
And he was a leader. We got to see him at the Senior Bowl, in person. We got to see him lead that defense, and the amount of respect that he gained from the individuals that he was on the field with for less than a week. It was immediate. It really was. And I know that people are going to look at his draft status and look at the way that, the way that he's not necessarily contributed in the same way that some of those other starting safeties for the Buffalo Bills have. The respect, it just kind of puts it all in perspective when stuff like this happens, that you get to see these guys and the way that they have genuine love for each other and genuine care for each other. And so it's cool to see that in this sort of moment, social media, stuff like that can come actually through in a good way.
There's so much negative that goes around in social media that it's always a positive when you see the beautiful side of it come together and you realize there's a lot more good out there than there is anything else, which isn't always the case when you talk about with social media. So on that note, let's raise our glasses and do the toast game presented by our friends at Holladay Distillery. And I'm going to do this one to Damar Hamlin. Just to start with
that's a good one.
That right there. Like, it's, again, not a great reminder. And if you talk to former players and for myself personally, to get a little emotional here, like, to be around these guys and to know what they put themselves through physically, to be out there on the field, it's different, and it hits you different when you get to know these guys. And Mike DeVito and Jeff Allen talked about it this week. But to just see the NFL world and that fraternity of people come together for what these guys do to entertain all of us in a way that no other sport in this country does. You need to remember that these guys are human, and that they've got families and they've got situations that they're dealing with. And, prayers to continue to receive good news. It's hard to say, but, these guys do a lot for us. And the more that we can remember that they're human and that they put themselves on the line to do something that they love and they're passionate about, but that there's also a risk to what they do. And so it's beautiful to see, the world come together to support him with all the prayers and everything. But I'm raising my glass to Damar Hamlin.
Cheers.
We going around? All right. So let's not forget that Patrick Mahomes.
Of course you're going to go there.
I don't go there.
Let's not forget about him. Let's not forget that Patrick Mahomes is a quarterback. Yep. We won't.
Real quick. First, I saw this tweet earlier on a thread that I tweeted out. So I apologize in the moment. I don't remember who to give credit to, but go to my social media, give credit to it. He'll be the first player in NFL history to receive 2 MVP awards and a Super Bowl MVP before they're 30.
And he's 27
years old.
Look, I actually do a pretty good job of tempering the Patrick Mahomes. Yes.
No, he does.
Sure?
I leave it up. I leave it up to you guys on these situations. I'm not this week. Patrick Mahomes is getting my toast game. He is he's generated the most yards in the history of the NFL in one season by a quarterback. He surpasses Drew Brees because Drew Brees can't run. And Patrick Mahomes can, and Patrick Mahomes can do a lot more than throwing into the flat. like Drew Brees did late in his career. Patrick LaVon Mahomes is my toast game today.
You hate Drew Brees.
I don't hate him.
Okay,
I don't hate him.
I'm going to use mine for a player that we haven't talked about yet. I'm going to use mine for a guy along the defensive line that has played really well as of late. This defensive line was stellar today, yet again. This is going into the playoffs, the best defensive line in Steve Spagnuolo's Kansas City Chiefs history. It's unequivocal. You can't argue it. This is the best one. Mike Dana, 2 strip sacks today. Mike Dana has had himself a hell of a season. I know people are going to look at the box score stats and be like, that's fine. They didn't show up. They didn't show up in the same way that they have for other guys. He has done the yeoman's work all season long, and he has made his opportunities count at every single opportunity. I am so glad that he got both of those strip sacks today because he has deserved a lot of those this season, and he was able to actually execute, tally him up today. So cheers, Mike Dana.
To Mike Dana.
What you got, Matthew?
All right, Maddie.
I'm going to do a twofer, and you can't stop me, Kent.
Okay.
So
Let's do it.
first and foremost, toast game. Shout out to all those people on social media that love digging up old receipts and retweeting them because you guys are having a heyday right now. Twitter is a disaster. Every other tweet being sent right now is coming from like March or July, and everybody retweets all the AFC West predictions. So, like, shout out to those people because people that like to keep receipts are having a blast right now. And, it's not my thing, but it's mildly funny when this many people are doing it at once. So that's the first toast.
To receipts.
To keeping receipts.
And then second, you talked about him a little bit, but Kadarius Toney. The Chiefs lose Tyreek Hill, and that clearly mattered. Not as much as some people thought, but the Chiefs found a way to get over it and still have the league's best offense. But then they bring in Kadarius Toney. And, I mean, one, the impact having him available or McCole Hardman makes such a difference as we see in the red zone on third downs. But when he gets the ball in his hands, you are lying to yourself if you don't get a little bit of Tyreek Hill has the ball in his hands tingly as he starts making these cuts and starts, accelerating up the field. He is the epitome of a dynamic football player. He just kind of moves differently than everybody else out there on the field. So yeah, as a Chiefs fan, we're kind of numb to crazy plays because of Patrick LaVon Mahomes, who Kent doesn't talk about. But when Kadarius Toney gets the ball, you get a different kind of, you just get really excited to watch what's about to happen. So, shout out to him for having another great game. The stats aren't great, but boy, the highlight reel is going to be phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and we're going to get into our final segment here to get thoughts on how this propels the Chiefs going forward. Obviously, they get the bye week, earning the number 1 seed in the AFC right now. But shout out, honorable mention, Harrison Butker and the Chiefs field goal / extra point.
The operation,
unit,
baby.
The operation going 4 for 4 on extra points and then 1 for 1 on the field goals. It's what you wanted to see. I know it's a little tongue in cheek right now, but
is it?
Listen, they executed 5 times perfectly tonight. Is exactly what I want to see. Obviously, as the controlled environment out there in Las Vegas, taking care of business and going undefeated in the AFC West again as the Andy Reid and the Chiefs continue to dominate this division. And Maddie, I know that a lot of, at least for me personally, can attest to this, being there in person for that win against the Chargers where I just lost my mind. That was where I felt like, listen, all the receipts should come out right now. Love the fact that it is happening tonight again as the Chiefs dominate the Raiders 31-13, win 14 games for the second time under Andy Reid in Chiefs history, the second time over the last 10 years the Chiefs had achieved that. Let's go a little bit about moving forward. You know what? We're going to switch it up. We're going to go, Craig, we're going to go to you first as far as what you saw tonight and what you want to see from tonight and what it means going forward as the Chiefs have that bye week and then figure out who they're going to face in the division round of the AFC playoffs.
I mean, you gave me the low-hanging fruit. Do that again. Do that again, especially on defense. Safety play was great. Defensive line play has continued to be great. The linebackers didn't have their best game of the season, but we've seen them be much better than this, get in sync with everything. And this defense can come up with enough stops for this offense to be like it is today. It doesn't have to be gaudy stats where they're just blowing the doors off of the defense. It can be methodical, it can be time consuming, and it can be comfortable like this. This is so confident going into the playoffs to see an offense and a defense both playing at the level that they are right this very moment. I know that we are just a few weeks removed from a Houston Texans overtime game. I understand that. But it feels comfortable, it feels confident, and it feels like a team that, frankly, is ready to do some damage in the playoffs. So I'm excited. I think that this game is a massive building block for this team going into the playoffs.
You know, it's kind of weird with this football team because you always have to continually parse what matters and what doesn't.
Yes.
Because this team has such big, lofty goals, and they've achieved so much in the Patrick Mahomes era that, you know, there's probably some times where, they let a bad team hang around. And so you've kind of got to navigate what matters and what doesn't. Well, I think, you talked a little bit about the safety position. Yes, absolutely. Like, you're seeing this group peak at the right time. I think you're seeing some things kind of peak at the right time. And Mahomes, I think, played a very strong game across the board. And that's always going to be the constant. Everything else around him needs to play well and play, at a high level, and good things are going to happen for this football team. One thing, just when we're talking about moving forward, I think one thing that's very valuable, and I think the thing that we don't talk enough about when it comes to it's not just the 1 seed, and the bye week is so crucial. The Chiefs are guaranteed to only play one of the Bills or the Bengals.
Yep.
And that's really a massive, massive win here for this football team, because one of those teams is going to, most likely, it's going to be Bengals, Bills for the right to play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. That's a big emotional football game for them. And obviously, I'm not even talking about everything that we've experienced in the last week. That's a big game. And now these two teams are going to have to, battle it out and then come play Kansas City. The 1 seed's been so crucial. I know some people are very disappointed in the fact that the Chiefs don't have a home field advantage in the AFC Championship game. I could care less, I'll be honest. I think everything about the opportunity that they've been given here as a result of everything that's happened and taking advantage of it, it's huge. They're going to be healthy. They've got one less game to make the AFC Championship, and they only have to play one of the Bills and the Bengals.
The fact that I just said John Miller tweet right there, or comment right there, that Jet has more touchdowns than Tyreek. And one of the things I was going to mention is that, Jerick McKinnon, I believe, has 9 touchdown receptions so far. He had 8 going into this game. I believe that was his 9th, and Tyreek Hill has 7. Not to compare the two guys as players, but again, making more of the case for Patrick Mahomes to be the MVP. We're going to spend about 5 minutes answering your questions for anybody who's watching live. If you've got questions, comments, bring those up. Shoot us those, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching. Ross Sawyer, you guys should do the end recording on a snow.
Yeah, you guys should.
The AFC West. We talked about trying to figure out how to do the what do you call it?
The carousel.
The carousel. That's amazing.
I know.
How do you mentally figure this stuff out so quickly? My brain does not work that way. But let us know. Tucker's going to bring those up, and he's going to bring up any information that he's got from Twitter as the post-game press conferences are going on. As we got the information from Coach Reed regarding Frank Clark. Hopefully, he's got a couple weeks. We need Frank Clark again, 5th all-time in NFL postseason history in terms of sacks. Keep mentioning that, but a couple of the records, there's going to be more than this. I know Travis Kelce had a couple. I don't want to comment on that because I don't know off the top of my head, but I know that the Chiefs franchise history, most 300-yard offensive performances as a team ever this season, supposed to be a down year. And Patrick Mahomes, Kent mentioned it earlier, the most passing plus rushing yards for a quarterback in NFL history, surpassing Drew Brees' 2011 season, is what Patrick Mahomes did in the season that a lot of analysts thought he was going to take a step back, because including, I believe it was Chris Harris, the Chargers defensive back, said some guys are going to get exposed.
It was Keenan Allen.
I'm sorry. Oh, you're right. Sorry. Charger put that on former KU Jayhawk.
Yeah, see, your bias is showing.
That's a whole different story. Whole different story. You're talking about the Big 12 champs. Champs are here. Let's talk.
Second best team in the Big 12.
Keenan Allen saying some guys are going to get exposed. And that was as Tyreek Hill got traded. Some guys were exposed, and it wasn't the Chiefs as they won the division for the 87th year in a row. And all of that.
Tucker, you did have something, though.
Yeah, I just saw this tweet
make it
or
go
this quote from Patrick Mahomes. It jumped off to me. He says that Kadarius Toney moves laterally different than any player he's ever played with.
Ooh,
Ooh, love to see it.
it's true though.
I mean,
Immediate
I bet the
reaction,
Chiefs wouldn't
I
have to get
love
rid of
it.
a ping pong table.
Well, the players aren't going to be able to play with that ping pong table in a week because their season's going to be over anyway.
Ooh,
They're not gonna
hey,
make the playoffs.
hey, you guys.
I
Guess
don't know how to
what?
react to this.
We can
Guess what?
flex. Hey, we can flex. The Chiefs
Chiefs are the 1 seed.
A fucking ping pong.
There
table.
is absolutely nothing for the Chiefs to worry about tomorrow. Week
Yeah.
18.
just enjoy it.
It's Sunday football. This is the most relaxing Sunday of football that you are going to have. Oh, until next week when the Chiefs also don't play because they got the 1 seed.
There's 2 weeks of uninterrupted draft talk and
stop it.
watching
Let's
college
go.
prospects. Like this is
Let's go.
This is like the Super Bowl for me right now.
Yeah.
Like, well, buddy, like I told Tuck earlier, it's the next 2 weeks are all frogs and all college football prospects. That's all it is for the next 2 weeks, baby.
I've been nothing but fucking annoyed that how much everybody at KCSN is rooting for TCU.
What?
KC.
What? Are you rooting for
That's
Georgia?
absurd.
No, I'm rooting for TCU in this game. But when they were going to the Big 12 championship game, you guys are still rooting for TCU, which I am not going to get over. It's
The
gonna
Frogs
take me a
are
little bit.
America's team,
It's gonna
man.
take. I can't even.
Kendrick
push
Miller
about
scored a
that. Now that
touchdown.
they're
They
playing
just
for the
didn't
Big 12
count it.
championship. Tucker's got something. Another TCU
Keep
fan.
us on track,
Let's just
Tucker.
bring it. If you talk about TCU, I'm turning this thing off.
I'm not going to
Please
talk
do.
about the Froggies. Patrick Mahomes says the spinning huddle play is actually called Reindeer Personnel Arctic Circle Snow Globe, and said that he called Snow Globe for short. It's been in the playbook since last season.
Love it.
I can't wait to talk to Nate Taylor from The Athletic on Tuesday's report to see if they've ever seen this play at any practice they've been allowed to cover. Because if I saw something like that at training camp, I wouldn't necessarily. You can't tweet. Like you're not going to tweet,
Yeah,
it, especially
yeah.
my
But,
position. Like, I'm not
but
tweeting
everybody
that.
you
I
know
don't-
would have known
kids
that
to
you
feed.
saw that.
Oh, you guys
Man,
talked
Tucker,
about
Tucker is very excited.
I
He's
also
got
had-
his,
okay.
Tucker's got his hand up. That means
It's also from Charles Goodman. That last tweet was from Charles Goodman as well. This one, Patrick
Goldman.
Mahomes on his, my bad. Wow. Having a stroke. Colin Saunders as a receiver. This is on Patrick Mahomes. I've got to give him a better chance. He actually has really good hands, but I don't know about his vertical.
there's only one way to find out. Patrick, throw him the damn ball.
Just
Keyshawn Johnson, just throw me the damn ball. Fuck.
I got to
Poor Colin Saunders. He better catch a touchdown in the postseason because that guy.
Patrick Mahomes, another thing real quick. His last game against
Never
TCU,
talks about
24 of 39 with 2 touchdowns.
Best
And
to
a-
ever do it.
and
At
a win.
27 years old.
And a win.
It's not even
Still mad
arguable
about Colin.
at this point. I
wanna
don't
see-
want to talk about Colin. I'm just gonna start swearing. I apologize, to everybody who's watching this with kids.
Hit the like and subscribe button if you're watching this, please. It helps us grow the channel.
All right,
So
we got 2
Patrick
minutes
Mahomes'
left.
last
Let's-
game against Kansas State was 500 yards and 2 touchdowns. So just that one out there in the world too.
Whose last game? I didn't catch that.
Patrick
Mahomes
Mahomes.
against
Mahomes' last game
K-State.
against K-State was just 500 yards
That's
and
fine.
2 touchdowns.
Talking about the
They
Big 12
lost.
chance. Put a little fucking respect on that name. Okay. They beat your TCU Frogs. TCU wins the national title. K-State gets the Big 12. Thank you, Blake.
They get the
Big 12 chance.
Kendra
You
Kendra
know what?
Miller
They
scored.
both walk
I don't
away.
care. Kendra Miller scored in overtime. Bad reffing. So anyway, you guys talked about counters earlier off of the trick plays. I was going to say the
am
the
upset.
snow globe play. The snow
I
globe
am
play.
upset.
Justin Watson was on the left, ran in an over route all the way
Yep.
back to the right side.
Yep.
There's probably your counter off of it is instead of throwing it back to Tony, they might try just to throw it actually a normal route to a receiver crossing. No offensive lineman went downfield. It would have been fine. So I noticed that when I got to see the dots. The dots were very telling and fun on that play. There was.
TCU fan, I'm cutting you off. All right, we got 2 questions left that we're going to respond. Let Tucker know. We're going to respond to those before we end the show. Again, appreciate everybody for hanging out and appreciate Holladay Distillery for letting us use. We're hanging out in Weston, Missouri at the Holladay Event Center. If you're looking for a place to hang out, take a tour of the distillery with the new Ben Holladay bottle and bonded bourbon made right here in Missouri. It is a beautiful place. One of my favorite places to be. Huge sponsor of KC Sports Network, and we appreciate everything that Patrick and the entire crew does for us here. But let's bring up a couple of questions or comments that we can respond to. John R. asks, are there any concerns going into the playoffs?
I got it. I got one. It's still going to be turnover differential, and
Mhm.
it's just a matter of, hey, look, when this offense protects the football, no one can stop them. I don't know if you're going to lean on this defense to turn the ball over too much. Sorry, Craig. But if this team protects the football, I think good things are going to happen. And so I think ball security for everyone. I mean, Mahomes too, but like you're mostly worried about, hey, everyone's surrounding Patrick Mahomes, ball security. Take care of the football. Good things are going to happen in January and February.
For me, I hope that what we've seen is real. Like it's been building towards this throughout the rest of the end of the season. We have seen this countless times out of Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo. Make it be real. There's been some question marks throughout the season. Is this effective against good teams? Do we see this against good offenses or good defenses? I want to see it in the playoffs, and I want to see it against that because it's awesome to beat up on the Raiders. Trust me, it feels great to beat up on the Raiders and the Broncos, but I want to see it against the Bills. I want to see it against the Bengals. I want to see it against some really good offenses. I want to see that.
Yeah, my two big concerns going into this game, turnovers. It was the defensive backs. It was the safety position. We saw Justin Reed and Juan Thornhill play two of the better games of their season, and curious to see the advanced analytics and go back and watch this game about what they got. And then the special teams to see, and it's almost like comical at this point that we talked about Harrison Butker going 4 for 4 in extra points, hitting his field goal. We wanted to see that kind of confidence going into the playoffs in the games that we know. I love the fact that they're only going to face the Bengals or the Bills.
Yeah.
And they've got 2 games to make it to the Super Bowl. They're going to only have to face one of those teams, but you wanted to see those guys in games that you assume are going to be close and or a field goal is going to make it a 2-possession game. Whatever the situation we get into the playoffs, you're going to want to see that operation between James Winchester, Tommy Townsend, and Harrison Butker be successful. We saw it tonight against the Raiders, and that's exactly what you want to see.
For me, the concern's just the middle of the field pass defense is still highly suspect. The last time, the Chiefs lost the game to the Bengals, they tore them up there. Even the Broncos and Jarrett Stidham had success throwing over the middle of the field. So it's something to keep an eye on. The Chiefs linebacker room is not great in coverage. Trent McDuffie, I love as an outside corner. In the slot, it's been a little bit more up and down. Now, it's hard to tell because it looked like the Chiefs were dialing back into some zone stuff. So maybe he was getting beat out of a relatively static zone. But he's looked better on the outside than in the slot to me so far this year. So just the middle of the field pass defense still looks very suspect. If the Chiefs aren't, operating or executing at top tier on the offensive side, they seem a little susceptible to giving up too many points to good offenses. So hopefully, as the safety play continues to improve, that middle of the field pass defense starts to go up as well.
All right, let's wrap this up. Please hit that like and subscribe button. We'll have plenty more content getting you ready for the playoffs. And we'll have plenty of content here at KC Sports Network. We've got about 15 shows a week that will get you ready from plenty of different perspectives. Really curious here, Mike DeVito, Jeff Allen, 2 former Chiefs that played for Andy Reid, getting ready to go into the playoffs. The way they handle these types of things is that both of those guys would know. Let's get final thoughts. Kent, let's start with you.
The AFC West spent $1 billion.
Yes.
Trying to stop the Chiefs. They won 0 games, and the Kansas City Chiefs locked up the AFC West before Christmas. Mic drop.
The AFC spent a lot more money than that and made trades and signed all kinds of players. And the Chiefs are still the 1 seed. And Patrick Mahomes is still the MVP.
Down year.
Haters are furious.
The haters are so furious.
Maddie, what do you got?
We'll just reiterate what everybody else said. The rest of the AFC is out here trying to add all these pieces, get pieces traded out of Kansas City, get off tweets, talk about people being exposed. And guess what? Here we are sitting here January 7th. And who's the number 1 seed, Kent? Craig, do you know? Does anyone know?
This is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And BPAT.
Love to see it. Appreciate everybody for hanging out for this episode of the KCSN Live post-game show. Again, we'll have more content coming for you from KC Sports Network. And we appreciate everybody here at Holladay Distillery for being gracious hosts. Appreciate everybody, all our subscribers for coming and hanging out. It was a phenomenal time.
It was great
hanging out with a lot of our subscribers that came up to Weston, Missouri to watch this game. We'll do more of these going forward, but again, hit that like and subscribe button. Appreciate everybody. Enjoy the time off and getting ready for a very stress-free Sunday, knowing that nothing that happens is severely in any kind of way going to affect the Chiefs besides what happens after the first round of the wild card playoffs as far as who's the Chiefs play. But we appreciate everybody for hanging out. We'll see y'all next time.